Raised beds are a great way to garden and grow, but there's a little bit more you can get out of your beds. How many plants have you lost to insects or raccoons and squirrels and other critters like that? How many tomato cages have you got bent and just couldn't get right again, couldn't use, thus sacrificing your tomato plants? How many times have you had your strawberries or melons fall into the muck and dirt and get wet, soggy, and go rotten before you even get a chance to enjoy them? A few simple upgrades can transform your raised bed gardening into an almost frictionless experience that allows you to get the most out of your raised beds. And best of all, these upgrades are inexpensive and easy to set up. If you've done any gardening, you know how frustrating it is to lose plants to pests like snails, rodents, or even frost damage on your younger plants. One of the best areas where you can upgrade your raised beds is in protection. To start things off, here in this bed, we have some chicken wire plant cloches to protect our young plants. The cage is made of chicken wire and will protect your plants from things like smaller rodents like squirrels and mice. The cage comes with a few spikes that you can use to push into the soil to secure it in place. To use it, it's simple. Simply place it over the plant and push it into the soil. Now, one thing that's handy about this one is that the top can be removed in case you need to tend to the plant. These cages are particularly good at protecting young plants, which as we know are the ones that need it the most. Now, if you have some plants that you're going to be putting out into the ground early and you want to protect them from frost damage and insects, this dome makes a great choice. This dome comes with a vent at the very top of it. Now, the vent allows the dome to breathe, but it also allows humidity to remain inside, which as we know is good for young plants. To use the dome is simple. Place it over the plant that you would like to protect, and then you can use the included stakes to stake down the dome. This way it won't blow away in the wind. The dome also protects your younger plants from wind, which if the wind is strong enough, it can be very damaging to younger plants, even those that you hardened up with a fan. Similar to the domes are these very inexpensive cloches. These protect against insects, wind, and freeze damage. And like the domes, they also lock in humidity. To use it is simple. Simply place it over the plant that you want to protect and push in the included stakes at the four corners of the cloche. Domes and cloches effectively make your raised beds into greenhouses, but at a fraction of the cost. One of my favorite upgrades for raised beds is the strawberry tray. Who hasn't grown strawberries and go to pick one up and it's in the dirt and the water and it's gotten soft and mushy? Basically, it's gone bad and it's inedible at that point. Well, these strawberry plant trays allow you to rest the strawberry, the berry itself, on top of the tray. Now, this keeps it out of the dirt. This keeps it out of the mud. This keeps it dry and ready to eat. The strawberry trays are easy to assemble. First, pop in the four legs. These are what will support it when you push it into the soil. Next, use the two green connectors and place them beneath the plastic strap at the bottom of the tray. Then you can slide the two halves of the tray together and it's ready to grow around your strawberry. To place it around your strawberry, you can open the tray as wide as it needs to be for the strawberry plant to fit in the middle. Then, when you're ready to put the strawberry tray into the bed with your strawberries, pull it apart enough so that the foliage of the strawberry plant can fit through the middle. Then, push it into the soil and slide the strawberry tray together. Once you've got the strawberry tray in place, keep watching your plants for when berries start growing. When they do, place them on top of the tray. That way they'll stay dry and not prone to rot or any kind of disease or fungus. There's nothing worse than going through all the hassle of growing a melon plant from seed to maturity, watching your fruit grow and your mouth watering in anticipation of this wonderful melon, just to pick it up and find that the bottom has gotten rot from where it was setting in the soil and where water and mud collected. With a melon tray, you can prevent this almost entirely. As your melons grow, you can place them on the tray, and this will keep them out of the worst of the dirt and the water and the mud by elevating them just a little bit, but still allowing them to be in the garden. If you need something larger than a cloche, or plan to cover a bed or more than one bed, the row covers are what you're going to need to do the trick. Much like cloches, they can protect from freeze damage, they can protect from wind, some insects, and critters. This one effectively makes a bed into a greenhouse. This one here is great for protecting your young plants from insects and freeze damage. And there are specific insect covers that can protect your plants from some insects and critters. Installing a row cover is easy. Simply remove the protected stake cover from the bottom, plant one stake on each side of your bed, and then gently unroll it down the bed, staking each hoop as you go. At the end of the row cover is a small drawstring that you can pull and tighten so that you get this nice and closed. This helps trap in moisture, prevent wind damage, many insects, and makes it an effective greenhouse. You can see this is solid. Like cloches, these are great because they allow you to start your gardening season a little bit earlier in the year. And they're easy to install. If you've got large or mature plants that you want to protect from birds, insects, or frost, you can use trellis stakes that we'll talk about later in this video with some frost cover, insect or bird netting, or shade cloth to keep your mature plants safe as well. Just clip on some hoop clips and maybe some landscape staples to keep the bottom secure, and you've got a simple way to protect plants of almost any size. Another way to improve your raised beds is to bring your compost straight to the raised bed. Then you don't even have to go get it out of the pile. Now, to do this, all you need is a lidded bucket, some scrap paper that's non-glossy and not printed on, and some compost scraps and a drill. Building the DIY raised bed composter is easy. First, get a bucket. Anywhere from 2 to 5 gallons typically works pretty good. Then dig a hole where you'd like to place it. We find right in the center of one of our raised beds is a great place to do it. That way you can access the whole raised bed when you're ready to harvest your compost. Then drill holes in the very bottom of the bucket and along about the bottom third. This is going to encourage the worms to come in and eat the composting material. Once the holes are all drilled, the bucket is ready to go into our raised bed. Then put composting material into your bucket. Now, this should be things like grass clippings, leaves. Avoid meat, dairy, and most citrus. Between the layers of your composting material, put shredded paper. This should always be non-glossy, and it's best if it's not printed on. We like to use reused packing paper that we get in packages, for example. If you'd like to get the process started even faster, you can introduce your own worms. Red wigglers make for great composting worms. Now, this is when you want to make sure you put the lid on the bucket. The lid helps prevent things from raccoons or mice or other things that might want to come for the composting material. When you're ready to harvest some compost, the best way to do it is to take one layer and expose the worms. Then let them dive down deeper. As you continue to go, they'll hit sunlight and they will dive below. You don't want to kill your worms by leaving them too exposed to sunlight, so do this a layer at a time. The compost you harvest, you can spread out right into the bed itself. No more wheelbarrows, shovels, or piles of compost in the yard. At the end of the season, you can even use leftover vegetation that's going to die anyway to place it inside the bucket. One of the most crucial and challenging aspects of raised bed gardening is watering consistently to penetrate deep into the soil where the roots are. When we pack our beds full of plants, it's really difficult and time-consuming to water deeply with overhead watering without also soaking the foliage, which can potentially damage your plants. Drip irrigation is simply the best way to water raised beds consistently and deeply. The reason why is because drip irrigation delivers water right where it's needed, directly to the roots of the plant. When done right, drip irrigation only leaves a small wet spot on top of the soil. Most of the water goes right beneath the surface where the plants can access it with their roots. Most plants don't like to have wet foliage. Wet foliage can promote the growth of bacteria, funguses, things that just aren't good for plants. With drip irrigation, the water is going directly into the soil. There are no wet leaves, there are no wet stalks, there is no wet bark. This means not only do you conserve water, but you also get a smaller water bill. Drip depot kits come with everything needed to create a complete system, so you don't have to worry about what fittings you might need to get your tubing up and over your raised beds. You don't have to worry about what a head assembly is. We've got it all included in the kit. What you see here on the table is everything needed to make a complete drip irrigation system for 3 raised beds. Upgrading your raised beds to an automatic drip irrigation system is easy. The parts mostly consist of your head assembly, which has your timer and is how you get everything connected to the hose bib, your mainline tubing so you can run water, and then your drip line to put in your beds, fittings to get it all connected, and some drippers, and stakes and clamps to hold it all in place. At first glance, drip irrigation may appear complicated. That's why we created kits and step-by-step guides to help you understand everything and not get caught up in making multiple confusing trips to the hardware store. Growing in raised beds can make raising climbing plants kind of challenging. Traditional trellises can be expensive, time-consuming, and difficult. To help with that, we have DIY trellises that you can quickly, easily, and inexpensively make at home. The trellises can be built into almost any configuration that you can imagine using the parts that are available for them, which allows them to accommodate almost any type of plant you can grow, up to and including melons. You can use the wire buckle brackets to make various configurations and directions of the post, or the plastic buckle brackets if you prefer something a little bit easier. The parts, when assembled, are durable and secure. They can support the weight of almost any plant. The posts are available in various diameters. You can connect these multiple diameters together using these connectors. This allows you to take a post that's only this long and create one that is this long, even all the way down to one of great length. Now, this works horizontally and vertically. In addition to the straight connectors, there are other types of connectors available, such as this 5-way connector, which allows you to build a very large trellis structure. The 4-way cross, the 3-way corner elbow, and the 3-way T-connector. Now, the one downside to these is that they're a bit rigid. You can only use them exactly as they're intended. If you prefer and want to have more flexibility in your install, you could just grab yourself a bunch of buckle brackets. As you can see here, we've used them in a multitude of ways to make connections that we couldn't with these connectors. The wire buckle brackets allow you a great deal of flexibility and adjustability so you can customize these parts to fit your bed, whether it's a metal raised bed like this one or a wooden raised bed that you made yourself. The support stakes are available in 2 sizes, a thick diameter stake and a thinner diameter stake. The larger diameter stake makes a great support stake for larger trellis structures. You can make a new structure entirely of this thinner one, but it's better to do so with smaller structures like our square or triangular tomato cages over here. For building trellises, we like to use the 5/8 and the 7/16 support stake. For the larger trellis, we use the 5/8 as its thicker diameter provides a stronger support. You can make smaller trellises out of entirely 7/16, as we did over here for our square tomato cage and our A-frame. Now the A-frame, you'll notice, has some additional functions to it. We use this A-frame connector, which even comes with hooks, so you can secure netting or twine or whatever you'd like to use. We used support clips at the top to secure our netting for our climbing peas that we have at the bottom here. We created our lattice work with the plastic buckle brackets, allowing a horizontal and vertical installation. Over here, we have our triangular tomato cage made out of 5/8 and our square tomato cage made out of 7/16. And we use trellis arms to connect this. Now, one benefit to this type of tomato cage is that it's not going to rust. Or if you bend a wire, have you ever bent a wire in a tomato cage and you just can't get it to set right ever again? You have to dispose of it and get a new one. Well, that's not the case with these. They don't rust, they don't break down, and they don't bend. This structure we made out of all 5/8 support stakes and the 5/8 trellis connector arms. We did this one all in 5/8 because we'd like to use it to support melons once they get growing. This one, as you can see, is particularly durable, being made out of all the 5/8. It'll be able to support the weight of melons without difficulty. One very inexpensive way to get the most out of your trellis is to couple it with some twine. To use the twine, simply tie it to one of the supports or lattice works on your trellis, and you can wind it throughout the bed. This gives plenty of locations for any of your plants to climb. Trellising like this is going to make it easier for you to harvest your plants and get high density yields due to the increased air circulation, sunlight exposure, the ability of the trellis to bear the weight of your fruit, and the reduction in soil-borne pathogens in wet foliage. What's great about these trellises is that they are strong but lightweight and easy to move or pack away for the winter. This makes it easy to rotate crops each year. You can also break them down and create something new as your needs change. There is also no rusting and no tools required. Another great type of triangular trellis is the teepee trellis. Now, these work great for climbing plants like pole beans or snap peas. To assemble one is easy. All you need is a few plant support stakes, a couple connectors, a few connectors arms, and some twine. Now, there's no complicated knots or anything involved like that. Simply tie the twine to one of the plant support stakes, wrap it around, and then wrap it around vertically and tie it off. You'll tie a simple loop to keep the twine secure and then cut off the excess. Then snap on the optional connector arms to give the structure added stability. You can use the connector arms to change the size of your teepee. So you can see the higher up you go, the larger you can make your teepee. The adjustability allows it to accommodate many different sizes and shapes of beds or in-ground beds. To learn how to install the automatic drip irrigation system for your raised beds, check out our step-by-step video guide right there. It walks you through the entire process from start to completion.